I received an email from someone asking. They have a Quaker and they have a Indian Ringneck, and the two don't really get along. They know that I say that I always have two of every species as much as I can. They don't want to have a lot of parrots, smart move, but they'd like for their two to have a friend. How do you make sure they're going to get along, or what do you do? Hey guys, I'm Kaylin, the author of The Parrot Bliss Bond. This here, of course, is not a Quaker or an Indian Ringneck. This is Lorenza. She's one of my closest parrots because she chose me. And so I actually thought that the hammering aside, sorry, a neighbor's getting a new roof. Lately it's raining or it's hammering. There's all sorts of problems. But anyway, I thought Lorenza would be a good example to have with me today because there is no parrot we've been able to have her be with or be around that she has accepted. And that's sort of an exception to the rule. It doesn't usually happen, but it can happen. So I think it's a really smart question to ask. You know, who do I get as a friend and how do I know it'll work out? Ultimately, the truth is we never know whether or not it'll work out, but there are some things that we can look at to try to increase our chance that it works out because, after all, that's my mission, to make sure that you have the most blissful bond with your parrots, which gets more so achieved when they do have a buddy. Lorenza, for example, freaked out today because my husband went upstairs and she was in her upstairs cage. So she started getting really loud. He opened the cage door and he said she bit him. So now she's still a little on edge and that hammering's bothering her. Hey, sweetie. But she's doing better because she's with me. However, like I said, no other parrot, not even other Amazons, have made her feel happier, more comfortable. She depends on me too much. So making sure your parrots have a friend is fantastic, especially like let's say you like to go out of town on something called vacation for more than a night or two. In order to be able to give your parrots the ability to stay safe and secure, but still let yourself travel some or have some life, well, one of the best ways to do that is to make sure that they have a companion. Now, the Quaker parrot is easy in the sense that Quaker parrots tend to be pretty social, and if you get another Quaker parrot, your Quaker parrot should well take to the new Quaker parrot. This does assume that your Quaker and Indian Ringneck aren't too old. The younger the parrot, the easier it is for them to adjust and to make a new flock. Just like with humans, you know, the younger we are, the easier it is to make a friend and find love, new love. When we're older, sometimes we've got so much going on. We already have so much within our conditioning that's set that it becomes a lot harder to adapt and get to know a different lifestyle, a different kind of person, you know, that kind of thing. So you can think of birds that way, that they're very similar in that sense. Still, I would definitely try to get another Quaker. Now, you kind of have to be prepared because you might have to put the Quaker parrot side by side if they're adults in two different cages. And so you kind of have to figure out how to introduce them. If they're young, you might be able to just put them in the same cage together. You have to really keep your eye on it. But remember my golden rule, it should be a new cage so that no one owns the territory. When I got my Quakers, I brought one home and I was like, what am I doing? He's so scared. He's so like, he was just kind of like, oh my God. And so the very next day I went and got him a buddy. And the minute I put the buddy in the cage with him, he'd only been in the cage for like 24 hours. He went from to kind of like relaxing. Oh, there's a Quaker here. I'm okay. It was kind of incredible. So that time I was able to add a second Quaker. And I'm not saying you should have a whole bunch of cages. But you should always have a hospital cage anyway, and that's a cage that's smaller where you can, just like a hospital. Oh, hello, Quaker. Hi, Blue. Now, I have to be careful because Blue and Lorenza got in a fight, which is how Blue got injured before. Oh, dear. No, Lorenza. Stay there, Blue. Stay. So, but you do, so you want that hospital cage, and you can use it temporarily as a second cage until you can put them both hopefully in a neutral third cage. Maybe the Indian Ringnecks, maybe you could do some cage swapping. But I'm kind of giving you some of the hardest and worst case scenario with the Quaker Parrot. Generally speaking, Quaker Parrots are kind of the opposite of Indian Ringnecks. They tend to be very social. So like that should go pretty smoothly and pretty easily. The Indian Ringneck, on the other hand, is going to be a lot harder typically. So the Indian Ringneck is a species that is more independent. If you know your Indian Ringneck's gender and age, that makes a big difference. The younger, the easier they are to get them to adapt to some new friends. And when they're male, they're friendlier than females because this is a matriarch in which the males sort of occupy that guardian, typically more masculine, stereotypically, as far as the gender role goes, protective, not as touchy-feely, not as social, because she's like the mama bear and some papa bear, you know, kind of in one. So the male Indian Ringneck, he'll guard the nest and that kind of thing. It's not like he won't. But I'm just saying that it's a different temperament to Indian Ringnecks, and they're not as social. If you have a female Indian Ringneck, your best bet might be another female Indian Ringneck. And it depends. I've heard a lot of people say that their female Indian Ringneck was friendly. Mine never has been. The friendliest she got was with another female. Now that she's sexually mature and my male Jules is sexually mature, they're actually in mating season and in a cage together. Under no circumstances would I leave Jules in the cage with Milo at any other season. The minute they're done mating, the minute I see any signs that she's being less tolerant of Julian, I will take him out because I don't want anything to happen to Jules. And this is very typical. Breeders that breed Indian Ringnecks need the biggest cages they can possibly get. And I'm not really talking about a cage that you're going to find online or that you're going to find in a bird store. I'm talking about a cage that they're going to have to get custom made that is at least 6 feet long by 3 feet and 3 feet. That's like the minimum breeding size. And I know a lot of breeders that go even bigger. Why? Because you want your parrot that's breeding to fly, get exercise, be happy, be healthy, get fresh air, get fresh sunshine. These are some of the ingredients that are vital in addition to a really good diet. So with that Indian Ringneck, right now he's in a cage with her that is an indoor cage, and that's why the minute that I suspect they're done breeding and he might be in any trouble at all, I'll take him out. I don't want to take him to my vet for any kind of injury, and this is how I'm going to avoid it. So I'm just driving home the fact that if you have a female Indian Ringneck, it's a little harder to find her a friend. You could try another female. Another possibility is whether your Indian Ringneck is male or female. If your Indian Ringneck is very independent, and in a minute we'll talk about a few signs that'll tell you how independent they are. It's okay, I know. They're hammering and they're being very noisy. I know. If your Indian Ringneck is very independent, it's possible that just having the Quakers around will be enough. Indian Ringnecks, sometimes they just like to know that other birds are around because that means they're in a bird-friendly place. What are some signs that your Indian Ringneck, like mine, is very independent and doesn't really want a friend? Some signs. Your Quaker Parrot, like you saw Blue, he never does this. He flew outside and came over to me. Usually if I'm outside, he won't come outside. If he's with me and we go outside, he'll go and we're going together. He doesn't usually go by himself. So he really wanted to be with me. And he's right here, but I don't want Lorenzo to hurt him again. So, and if you want to see that video, I'll put a link in the description. So, if your Indian Ringneck doesn't fly to you and isn't on you, the way your Quaker is, you're seeing one difference. Quaker parrots tend to be far more affectionate, far more cuddly, far more bonded. They're a great species. And of course, I think it's great to have two of them to have and cuddle with and love on. You want to come? And have join your video. Blue has a couple best friends. One of my best friends that comes to visit sometimes, she loves him, he loves her. If she was in the country, I probably would have let her keep him because they love each other. A very affectionate bird, and not a bird that, generally speaking, is going to only be friends with one person like Lorenza. Blue is more friendly than that. Anyone who will give him affection, generally speaking, he's pretty happy about. He's more he more easily connects with women than he does men, and sometimes preferences. Parrots do have those preferences. I find it has a lot to do with what human they were with initially, who they bonded with, if they bonded with one gender versus the other. And if the other gender wasn't as nice to them, then they certainly have had an experience that they think has taught them that only women are nice or only men are nice, that kind of thing. They certainly learn that. So, with your Quaker, I would get another Quaker. With your Indian Ringneck, I would look to see at how cuddly they are. Your Indian Ringneck may come and fly onto your shoulder and cuddle with you, but you'll notice it's probably just not to the degree that your Quaker does. Blue is always trying to come and cuddle with me. He follows me different places I go. One time he almost went outside, or he did go outside. It was a miracle we got him back. So he's more attached at the hip kind of thing because he's more bonded. His emotional well-being is more tied into being with me, being around humans. My Indian Ringneck, her emotional well-being is not tied to anyone, although she does love me. She also likes my husband and my daughter. She's not mean to us, but if another bird's around, she can get aggressive. So we're always careful with her. If your Indian Ringneck's like that, then your Indian Ringneck might be fine just the way it is because you have another bird, and you can just leave it like that. All right, thank you for joining me in this blissful video. If you're looking at getting a perfect apartment parrot, make sure to check out my 30 perfect apartment parrots. You'll see, I think, the book in the reel. It is on Amazon. It has over 30 species of different kinds of parrots. I put them into different categories: the gold group, the silver group, the bronze group, because different ones are perfect or a little loud but perfect, or a little bigger but perfect, that kind of thing. All right, guys, thanks for the question. Make sure to give us one of these, and we'll see you next time.